So how do you prepare your interviews? I'll talk about this a little bit. I discussed this a little bit in a previous webinar, but I want to make sure that as it applies to video interviewing, getting comfortable will make this better for your company. But be respectful, which should go without saying, but you want to be thoughtful about it because it's not that face-to-face personal connection. And so being respectful and taking a few extra steps to show that respect for your candidate, for their time, thanking them for being part of your video process is critical. And just treat it like it's an in-person video, an in-person interview. Make sure your interviewers are reviewing the job descriptions. A lot of times what I've seen in the past is the job description doesn't get reviewed prior to the interview. And then the hiring manager or the interviewer is trying to take the time to look at the job description while they're trying to interview the candidate, and they may not know what the job is because sometimes things are moving quickly. Someone might have gotten thrown onto an interview at the last minute. Just make sure they review that job description and understand what you're looking for. Making sure that your interviewers read the candidate's resume and they understand a little bit about the background so that they can prepare good questions for the candidate. If you've got standard interview questions, how does the candidate match the things that you're looking for in that job description? And making sure you minimize distractions as the interviewer. Bullpen environment's probably not the best place to conduct your virtual interview or your video interview. Find a good place where you're going to be minimizing distractions. You're not multitasking. You're not trying to do email while you're in that interview because it will be much more noticeable to the candidate. So by doing that, by being conscious and thoughtful about minimizing distractions, it will make your interview much more successful. And then just manage schedules. And what I mean by that is if you are in a different time zone than your candidates, which is highly likely with this video interview because the candidate's not flying to be on site with you, just be thoughtful about what time of day the interview is scheduled for, because you don't want your candidate to have to interview in some dark 30 or some dark hour of the night or super early in the morning. So just be thoughtful about scheduling and those time zone considerations. And the biggest thing is make sure you have fun, make sure you breathe, and I always say make sure you drink enough water, but not too much water before your interview. So how do you improve your interviewer capability? One is to make sure that you've got experienced interviews. So you could use some of the things that I talked about earlier in the use case to better prepare your interviewers for video interviewers and give them a chance to practice. Use something like interviewer tips, general interviewer tips, the do's and don'ts of interviewing so that people remember things they can ask, things they can't ask. We certainly have information that we could share on the do's and don'ts of interviewing. Showcase your diversity, use diverse interviewers. And one of the reasons you're trying to use diverse interviewers is you want to have people who are going to see something from a different lens than the other interviewers are seeing. This is going to give you the opportunity not only to showcase diversity. If you've got a diverse workforce and you're trying to hire diverse talent, they want to see people who are like them. The other thing is just the diversity of thought and the way people are going to hear information and process that information is going to be different. So during your debrief, you may find that interviewers coming from different points of view or different references saw something totally different during that interview. And I talk about this probably in every webinar, is you want to consider the must-haves and not the nice-to-haves. The must-haves are so critical to getting that job done that you want to make sure the interviewers are focused on the right things, and you want to prioritize for them what they need to be concentrating on during that interview versus the nice-to-haves that they would want the ideal candidate to have. And train your interviewers to probe candidates. If an interviewer if a candidate answers a question during your video interview that your interviewer didn't get the answer to, just probe the candidate and get your hiring teams, your interview teams much better at doing that, and you'll get a much richer candidate viewpoint. So hire for values and not culture fit. If you're hiring for the values and the attributes that you're looking for this job and for your company, and the things that your company thinks, the core values that your company thinks are critical and important, hire for that and assess for that and get your interviewers to know what those are, not necessarily a gut reaction, culture fit hire. Same thing in a face-to-face interview as it is in a personal interview. Hire for values, not for culture fit.